Well, this is episode 2 of the second video recorded episode of Everything You Know Is Wrong. And so this is such a phenomenal, rich topic that we got to go over it again, right? So tell us who you are.
I'm Dorian Long, co-founder of Diaspora Yaupon.
Yeah, Ian McCluskey, co-founder of Diaspora Yaupon, Seattle native, worked all around the world and came back to work on this project and bring Yaupon to the Northwest.
And the Northwest is the right place for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is Yaupon?
Yeah, so Yaupon is an indigenous plant that we're harvesting and roasting similar to coffee. And when we do that, it comes out with a really similar taste to coffee, but also kind of falls somewhere between black tea and espresso. And so with that, we're using it to make coffee-style drinks, both at the markets and at the cafe, to kind of give people a better and more sustainable alternative to coffee.
So that's interesting. So it's funny, I'm not a coffee drinker, right? So I went to college at American University in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And so my roommates from college, they're East Coast people, right? So for them, the West Coast is still untrained, unbridled territory. It's still the Wild West to them, right? And so I didn't know this at the time, but they wanted to, you want to get to know the people that you're going to be living with for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so they took me out to a coffee shop thinking this will be a great way to get to know this guy. And they planned it. How sweet of them, right? So we get there and we get to the front. It's like, so what do you have? And I'm like, oh, I don't drink coffee. Like, we came here for you. I'm like, well, tell me that. It's like my first time meeting anyone from Seattle, and I picked the one person that doesn't drink coffee. It's unbelievable, right?
No.
And so when I first met you guys, and you basically told me exactly that, the first thing in my head was, well, I drink a lot of tea, and I don't drink coffee. Which is a difficult question. How would this fall in, and how would it relate? How much caffeine is there?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel, right?
Yeah, so caffeine-wise, it has about 70% of the caffeine that coffee has, but it also contains theobromine and theocrine, like the chocolate molecule and all that. So then it's getting all these natural caffeine sources that kind of amp it up to be about the same caffeine level as coffee. But because it has no acidity virtually, it's going to last a lot longer and not give you that spike and crash that coffee does. It'll be more smooth to drink, but also just keep you more caffeinated throughout the day, which is really nice.
That's what I noticed, not being a huge caffeine person, is that it was my friends buy me coffee as a joke. They think it's correct. It's like a party trick. This is me without caffeine. You know what I mean? Right? This is like a party trick. If we're out on the road or something like that and I'm a little bit lacking, they're like, let's get him some coffee. Let's wind the toy up and see what happens.
Oh, no.
Bingo. This is me without coffee, right? So I noticed whenever I had Yaupon, it's a smooth, because of the theobromine. It doesn't hit you and launch you and bring you back down. You never get up to this peak. So that 70%, it's almost like the 70% is almost like spread out over a longer period of time too, which brings it down even. It's a way more even keel. Yeah. I found that interesting. And then you said sustainability as well. That's interesting. How?
Yeah, so the plant is all regenerative organic certified, and we're sourcing from a Chickasaw woman down in Texas who has a bunch of regenerative organic certified land. And so the plant is fully sustainable, and it grows rampant all over the South, Georgia, Florida, Texas area. And so it's not invasive by any means. It just grows everywhere.
It's like a thicket. It just goes.
Yeah, all over, and no one's doing anything with it. So really,
wild?
We're kind of helping people get rid of it.
Yeah. I found out there was a company in Texas that's their job, is because they then sell it to the manufacturers, and the people are like, yes, take it, and they're paying them to get it off our land. It's choking out all of our other trees and bushes, right?
Yeah.
It's like I used to live in Africa, and so we have all these 15, 20 years ago, certain notions about marijuana. I've never been a big pot smoker, but like people that just say marijuana is the greatest thing for everything, calm down. Makes a lot of bipolar people very knock it off, right?
No.
But then people that have children with epilepsy and stuff like that say nobody should have this. Knock it off. It's right in the middle. All of us need to be more, And in Africa I forget, it grows everywhere. So you go on children's playgrounds, people break it off, and kids have sword fights with them.
Really?
It's not destroying communities in Africa. It's just a plant. And then I forgot, that's why we call it weed. Yeah. It grows out of like children's toys, and it grows everywhere. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, of course.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Isn't that wild, right? Well, okay, and so this is interesting. For all of our big coffee and you explain more of the taste profile.
Yeah, so because of the nature of it, it has a really unique flavor palette that's similar to coffee, but also similar to tea. And so I find that it has flavor notes of like plum and oolong and chocolate, but at the same time, it has the same roastiness and depth that coffee has, but without the acidity. So then it's kind of nice and calming and soothing like tea. And so at the markets, a lot of people say it kind of reminds them of Thai tea. I've heard a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it kind of falls between black tea and espresso. So like when I drink it, I'm like, it's not quite one or the other, but it's a really beautiful blend of both flavors coming together.
Yeah. So that's the thing. We're so used to this flavor. We're not used to anything that's not that. It's and there's a whole world in between that. And honestly, we through corporate entities, we've been told this is the way things are. There's a YouTube channel that cracks me up. It's British people eating American candies, and it's just them trying a Starburst and be like, "What is this?" And so during the holidays, I would buy my friends European candies, and they go crazy for it. Like, this is I go, this is what happens. You don't use chemicals. They're using elderberry for the purple coloring. They're using turmeric for the orange. You know what I mean? They're using beets for the red. We don't need toxic chemicals that rip children's brains apart.
No.
And also it tastes, we've just gotten used to that taste. That's not a good taste. We've just gotten accustomed to it, right? Yeah. And so I found what time of day do you think is a good, like, easy?
Ooh, I say, anywhere from early morning to midday. And I don't know, for me, because the caffeine isn't as, punch you in the face as coffee is, I'm happier being caffeinated later in the day when I drink the Yaupon.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
It might be a nice alternative in the afternoon where you're
absolutely.
Because coffee, you kind of have to measure how
I'm like, okay, it's 3 p.m. now, so that means if I drink it any later than 3:30, I'm done.
No more plans. No more plans, everyone.
I'm out
Fire
for
up the
evening.
hot tub.
Exactly. But with Yaupon, I'm like, even though it's 4 p.m., I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm good. It's all good.
Well, and like we were, if anyone hasn't seen our previous episode, you should. We talked about the history, but one of the things that you kind of went over was how difficult it was because it was from the South. It was regarded as a low grade, low quality, poor person's drink, right? I found out that in World War II, it was so hard to get supplies. Everything was expensive. It was kind of like where we are now, right? Everything was so expensive. It was imports of getting tea and coffee was so difficult that they actually tried to. That was one of the first resurgences to bring Yaupon, to the mainstream and saying, hey, here's an alternative that we can grow here and keep here. And so one, you have the connotation cheap, which immediately gets translated to poor people. So people wanted to keep their dignity during the Depression and during war periods, and saying, no, we're not struggling. We're still. So it's not about the struggle. It's a perfectly sustainable, wonderful drink. But people couldn't wrap their brains around that. And then two, because of its unfamiliar flavor, where it's not quite espresso, like you said, and it's not quite chocolate. I know what chocolate is. I know what espresso is. It takes a little bit of time to develop taste that. So it never got a chance to develop that taste. And so it was regarded as a low grade, a poor person's drink. And so people rejected it and turned against it because they were like, I'm not going to learn this new sludge water, right? You give a couple generations, people are like, where's my sludge water, Mom? Right? But at the first time, they're like, I'm not drinking this low-grade sludge water. What do you think coffee is?
It's for real. Bean water.
Bean water. Yeah. It's bean water, right? And also, that's an interesting point with coffee is being such a sustainable plant. Like you could probably speak more to this as well, but like coffee has always been a perfectly reasonable resource. Living in Africa, there was a lot of farms over there that grew coffee, and it was a way for the indigenous cultures to get access, and it's great, fair trade and things like that. But coffee processing has its downsides, right? Yep. What are some of the ones that kind of Yaupon is able to not fall into that trap of?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Yaupon's carbon footprint and water footprint are a fraction of a percent of what coffee and tea, for that matter, take to bring into the U.S. and process. And so when we're talking about, Brazil right now, right, they're diverting water resources from their population to water their coffee crops because that's the decision the government's made there. Yeah. And that decision is driven by the U.S. consumer, right?
Our needs.
And so the amount of pressure on the coffee monoculture crops around the world is immense because of how much coffee is consumed in the U.S. So we're not here to try to prevent people from drinking coffee. Yaupon, though, is a pressure relief valve. And for many people, it's a highly preferable flavor and sensation compared to tea and or coffee because of what it both has and what it doesn't have. For certain bodies, it just works a lot better, and for certain people, it just tastes a lot better than what they've had to date.
Sensation's a good way of putting it. That's what that buzz you're talking about, where it's not like I'm jittery and jacked. It's like I got to clean the garage.
Yeah.
Let's focus in, right?
Exactly.
And that's a great way of putting it. Is that it's in no way are we setting up as a disruptive to coffee, but I think people don't realize from what you laid out, that coffee really is a luxury good.
It is.
I mean, we've become so spoiled in our culture that it's like, I remember when I was a kid, like getting seeing mom and dad go and get a coffee was like, oh, we're going to read the paper and have a day and make a big thing of it.
Right.
And now people are like, I need my coffee. Like you see all
Yeah.
those stupid memes and people just being so basic of like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything without my coffee. It should be a luxury. It should be something that we sit and enjoy. And me not being a coffee drinker, when I get coffee, I get the good stuff. I don't go to chains. I want to go to a local place and I sit there and I camp and I basically annoy the people with me who just want to slam it and go. I'm like, why do you even do this if you're not even enjoying it? You just got to get it in you. I'm trying to enjoy the coffee because I love the taste. I love coffee ice cream. I love coffee flavor. I love coffee grinds and you mix it on stuff. And yet I want to sit and enjoy that. And that's when I realized, no, people are just slamming it. Just getting it down as Americans, like, get back to work. Let's go. It's like, no, it's something you should enjoy. And I think undoubtedly people know how much work, effort, resources, minerals, manpower goes into creating coffee. And I hope that this helps people appreciate it a little bit more. And then people like us who are all about sustainability. Since I was 11 years old talking about sustainability. And now when people talk about global warming, I'm like, let's talk about sustainability. Let's talk about something we can control. Global warming could happen with or without us and with or without Ford Motor Company, right? Sustainability, all of us can do something about and we don't, right? And so this, I think, is a good access point for people to be like, this is something that's sustainable. This is something that's and also at the same point, I would like to elevate coffee. I would like to turn coffee back into something that's you have after a nice steak, and you know what I mean.
Well, and it's moving in that direction, and that's why cafes are now like going to a cafe costs twice what it did a couple of years ago, right? To get a drink at a cafe, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, of course, you still have Starbucks and you still have all these big chains that are, pretty controversial. I guess we can just leave it at that in terms of their business practices. But there's definitely a renewed attention being paid to, I think, the source of their these beverages.
People are finally starting to ask that question. Where is this from?
So matcha's big. Matcha's popular now, and Yaupon I think is going to become a very interesting to certain people over the coming years once it's more accessible,
it's certainly
more
appealing. The second you taught me more about it, immediately appealed to me before I'd even tried it.
Yeah. So we're working on making it more accessible.
Yeah. Speaking of which is exciting, let's try some.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yeah,
let's get some concoctions going, right?
Good. Cool.
So this will be part 2. So if you didn't watch the first, why are you watching Godfather Part 2? Watch the first one first, and then watch this episode, and then we'll do another one, and we'll brew some up, and we'll try it. Right?
You got it.
Sound good? That's all. Let's see if this works. Let's see if
we can get him.
If we can get him to act on camera. I got the. That's worth it to me. I love that collab, bro. Seattle Zone. Well, thank you, and we'll do it again.
That's
all I got.
Yeah.